Good evening and welcome to this planning committee on Monday the 28th of June 2021. We'll start the meeting with apologies, please, Howard.
Apologies received from Councillor Branston, Creswell, Martin and Sutton.
Thank you, and we're just going to mention it, but we're going to also record in the minutes that councillors Buswell and Martin are unable to be here as a result of COVID. They're shielding, or they've been asked to shield at the present time, because we do think it's slightly unfair that they're recorded an apology when it's beyond their control. Okay, moving on to item 2, it's the minutes of the last meeting. Are you happy to approve and sign the minutes as accurate? Yep. Brilliant. Ooh, yes, you may, as long as you take off your mask and put on your sound, please.
Thank you, Chair. Is it usual that votes are just recorded as for or against, and not the numbers voting for or against?
Chair, if individual councillors want to have their vote recorded in the way that they have voted, may do so.
It was more just a point of principle in terms of, otherwise it just looks like everything was approved unanimously rather than reflecting any of the debate or whatever. If it just says it's approved or it wasn't approved, that was my thought.
If you want to have your vote recorded in a specific way, you just need to ask, and Howard will do so, okay? So I'll sign those minutes at the end of the meeting. Declarations of interest. If you have any interest related to any of the matters we're about to discuss, if you could let us know before the item is heard. And we don't have any things under Part 2, so there will be under the Local Government Access to Information Act of 1985, so no one from the press or public should have to leave this meeting. We've got some people public speaking, and we will get to those when we get there. And the first item on the agenda is planning application 21/0223/Act, land at Home Farm, Pimpo, Exeter.
Thank you, Chair. So this is an outline application for up to 61 dwellings at Home Farm. I apologise before I start, there's quite a lot of slides to take you through today, but a lot of them are photographs, so hopefully it won't take too long. That's the site outlined in red, Churchill running up this side of the site, and Park Lane running down the other side of the site. You note from the contours that it falls gradually from top to bottom in the north-south direction, and the access point into the site would be down here in the bottom southern corner. There's an aerial photograph just to give you a bit more context to the site, and from the aerial photograph you can see the development at Home Farm that's currently under construction, like the sort of muddy fields, including this area here in green, which is the open space forming part of that residential development. The next slide shows an extract from the local plan and the core strategy key diagram, both showing the sites. So on the local plan on the left, the site is designated as landscape setting, and although it's at a much smaller scale, on the key diagram to the core strategy on the right, the arrows point to the site also sitting within the landscape setting. Now a series of photographs of the site, just to give you some context. So this is taken from the very top of the site through the only field gate giving access to the field. The next image is just walking into the field slightly, so you can see how elevated the site is, and you can see the views across the rest of Exeter. Then there's a view down the boundary with Park Lane, and right at the bottom, just where I'm hovering the cursor, you can see the roofs of some of the houses constructed on the current phase of Home Farm that's under construction at the moment. That's a view looking in the other direction, and it's worth noting some fairly recent landscaping that's been put in this belt along this boundary. That's a little bit a little bit further into the site, and you can see here behind these trees Park Lane, and where the cursor is now is the last property on Park Lane on the side of Park Lane, if that makes sense. There's another photograph just looking across the site, and finally one taken from the bottom of the site looking back up And where the cursor is hovering now is the field gate that the very first photograph was taken from. So the next slide is one of the developers submitted plans. It's their development parameter plan, suggesting how they might propose the site is developed to try and minimise its prominence. So you have open space at the top of the site, and then they've split it into two different zones. A yellow zone where they envisage the maximum height of the dwellings being restricted to 9 metres, and then this white strip where they're suggesting the height is limited to 8 metres. So the next drawing is as an illustrative layout, because it is an outline application, but useful because it gives the context of the development that's under construction. As I say, that's the open space to that development, and you can see more clearly now where the access is proposed in this southern corner, so i.e. through that development to give access to houses in this field. This is a slide just locating some sections which I'll show you next, and I've picked out two, so I'm going to show you this section AA, which runs from the top of the site to the bottom, and then this section BB, which runs across the site. So this is AA, so running from top to bottom, so you come across the open space to the first dwelling, and then they step gradually down, and the dotted line you can see behind them is the existing dwellings on Park Lane. And then section BB, as I say, is across the site, so again, dwelling over on the right-hand side is an existing dwelling on Park Lane, and then the proposed dwelling shown in section falling gradually across the site to an attenuation pond in the far corner. And I've put this slide up because it's the slide for the consented development south of the current application site, purely to show you the access point. So you would come out of that development and use the internal roads within the consented development to get out onto Church Hill for vehicular access, and also because it's been raised quite a lot in representations and also is referred to in the committee report and in the Highway Authority's response, it's useful to demonstrate the position of pedestrian cycle connection from the Phase 1 development onto Broad Parks Avenue, down in this location here, this narrow strip running through. Now a series of photographs taken from various vantage points showing the prominence of the site. This is taken across the car park of the Aldi's on Pinhole Road that's currently under construction. You can see the site in the background. There's a view from Tyre Barn Way, Cumberland Way roundabout, so you can see the fields here. This field is the open space on the developments under construction. You can see the new houses going up just under here, and then the L-shaped field of the site wraps around that. It's another view from slightly further up Cumberland Way, so the site's up here. And then one slightly further along Tyre Barn Way, again you can see the site above the dwellings that have recently been constructed. So the next series of slides are taken from the applicant's landscape visual appraisal document, and it's quite difficult to see, but they've annotated 3 different coloured lines on here. There's a light blue line, which you hopefully will see slightly bigger on your screen, which is the ridge line of the development under construction at Home Farm. A white line, if you can make one out, is the ridge line of existing houses on Park Lane. And then the dark blue line, which you can see more clearly here in the middle and running across here, is to indicate the height of the proposed development. So that one was taken from the fields next to Arena Sports Ground. There's a couple of them, I'll talk you through them. That one's from Tyre Barn Way and Black Horse Lane. So again, you can see the blue development, blue line being the development under construction. Above that, the darker blue line of the proposed development, and right on the top, the white line being existing dwellings. There's one taken from Tyre Barn Way next to the M5 bridge. Again, the line's the same colour, so the dark blue one, you can see it up here above the line of the Home Farm approved development. Corresponding one from Cumberland Way near the junction with Hollow Lane. Again, light blue, development and construction, dark blue, proposed. And that's quite a useful one because that's a similar vantage point to the one I showed you across the Audi car park. So again, you can see here the blue line of the proposed development height. Next are a series of slides which have been supplied by an objector, which I have to say I haven't relied on these images in terms of making a recommendation to you, but I think it's useful for members to see them because it shows where the public have identified different vantage points that the site can be seen from. This shows the location of the photographs you're going to see, and they work basically across from the left-hand side of the screen towards the right-hand side. So there's the first one, and hopefully they've put on an annotation to show where the site is as well. So that's from Barley Valley Park on the green circle. Next one from Hambia Lane footpath on the green circle. That one's from Ludlow Valley Park. That's from Eastern Fields on Beacon Lane. That one's from Apple Lane on Soutton. You can see the site more clearly now, a bit closer up. Again, that's very similar to the ones I showed you from Tyburn Way, Cumberland Way. Tyburn Way and Black Horse Lane. And then you get a little bit further out, so that's from Clifton Mary footpath. That's from Greendale Farm Shop. And that's much further away from Essery View on the Common. So the next slide is a slide of all people that were consulted in respect of the application, and all their comments are set out in full in the committee report. There's a slide summarising the objections. Again, 93 objections received, raising various issues that are all set out in the report. And I've referred to an e-petition that was running separately on the council's website, which wasn't specifically about this application. It was more about protecting green infrastructure in Pinhole generally, but it did refer to this field as forming part of that. So that's why I've referred to it there, but you'll see that that will be considered by full council in July in accordance with the council's petition scheme. The key issues are all set out in the report. Basically, there's policy background, the planning balance to be weighed up in terms of the council's 5-year land supply versus the visual impact of the development benefits, the landscape assessment and heritage assets, access matters, ecological issues, habitat mitigation, education, DP provision, flooding and public opinion. Again, they're all set out and go into detail in each of those in the main report. One additional representation has been received, which is summarised on the update sheet, which has referred to recent appeal decisions and the planning balance, even in situations where councils aren't able to demonstrate a 5-year land supply. The conclusions set out in the main report, it's important to note that the Highway Authority have raised no objection. However, notwithstanding the council's inability to demonstrate a 5-year land supply, it is considered that the adverse visual/landscape setting impacts of the proposal outweigh the benefits of housing delivery on this site, and therefore the recommendation is one of refusal as set out in the report, but also shown on the slide. Showing now. That's the end of the presentation. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Councillor Halliford?
Thank you, Chair. Clearly, the reasons for refusal have been set out in the paperwork of the meeting, but we have been here before, haven't we, in some of the outlying areas of the city. What is the sort of likelihood that the developers may well seek to overturn a refusal tonight?
Okay, I think it's highly likely that they will seek to appeal if we refuse it today, as they did with the original home farm development. I think, as set out in the report, I think the difference in this one is that when that was considered, both their own lands, and it happened to be the same applicant at the time, their own landscape consultant referred to the importance of these upper fields being left undeveloped, as did the planning inspector when he reached his verdict on the appeal. So I think that gives us some comfort, I think.
Thank you.
Any other questions for clarification? Councillor Henson, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. It's not very far from Councillor Hanovert's. For years, we've tried to keep the green outside on the bridges all the way around Exeter. But I think we're coming almost to the stage that it's going to go. The rate that the building that is happening that we're in and around Exeter. How long can we hold developers off for this without going to appeal and winning? Because, to be perfectly honest, I should be sad to see it go, but I think the inevitable is looking at us straight in the face.
Is your question, how long do you think we can preserve? Thank you.
How long do we hold the developers off?
Think you can answer that?
$1 million question. It's difficult to put a time on it, obviously. I think all we can do is make a decision at the time based on the merits of the case. And in this particular case, and at this particular time, we're recommending to you that we think the impact visually on the landscape setting of the city outweighs the benefits of the housing. Now, whether that will change in the future, it may change for the worse. If we get to a position where we're able to demonstrate a 5-year land supply, and our 5-year land supply has improved significantly, then it may even get better and give us a longer time that we'll be able to resist development.
Can I just ask one more question, just to...
Put the speaker on, Councillor.
Yes, can I just... your description, and it was very well done, you were almost persuading us that it can be seen from different parts of Exeter, and that in itself is telling.
Okay, that wasn't a question though, Councillor. Okay. I have a councillor speaking under standing order number 44, that's Councillor Harvey. Councillor Harvey, you've been here often enough, but you don't have a time limit. But please be concise with your comments.
Thank you, Chair. I cannot tell you how pleased I am to see a recommendation for refusal for this application. You will have seen some of the numbers, 93 objections to the petition with over 2,000 people. I thought that when the travellers arrived on Station Road playing fields in Pinhoe some 2 or 3 years ago, that I had seen the height of anger and upset amongst local residents. I was wrong. The amount of anger that has been felt by the local residents of Pinhoe about this application outweighed that by far. It is incredible how angry the people of Pinhoe are about this. So I am extraordinarily pleased to note the recommendation for refusal. I'm extraordinarily pleased to note that the recommendation for refusal is based on what I might call higher considerations, landscaping and biodiversity, not immediate considerations of highways, traffic, overdevelopment, or any of those things. This is about the future for our and your and the residents of Exeter's children and what will happen after that. The protection of the green ring around Exeter is absolutely vital to the future. The other thing that I would like to say about this development, it is for us as a city council to think long and hard what we mean by a sustainable development and what we really mean by our commitment to a carbon-free or carbon-neutral agenda by 2030. I understand the highways concept that it is feasible to walk or ride a bike up Church Hill from the Spar Shop or from Sainsbury's through Home Farm and to this, which we as the residents of Pinhoe called Higherfield, and we call it Higherfield for a reason. But I do not describe that as a sustainable development. To ask and to expect the resident to be able to do that. There is no bus service, there will be no bus service. People who can afford a taxi can have a taxi, yes. But the residents, if this were to be built, to expect them and to call this a sustainable development, to be able to walk from Sainsbury's with bags of shopping, children possibly, from the spa shop up to this development, is simply unbelievable. It is not a sustainable development, and my understanding is that that goes against national planning policy regulations, and it is something for us as a committee and for this city council to look at and think long and hard about. I am extraordinarily pleased we have got an office of a recommendation to refuse this, and I hope that you go along with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Now, a member of the public speaking under standing orders. The objector is Michael Bennett. Mr. Bennett, you get 3 minutes, I'm afraid, and Howard will let you know when your time is up.
On your marks.
Yes.
The proposed site, known locally as Highard Field, forms the beginning of Exeter's Northern Hills, and as such is an important part of the city's landscape setting. The 15th century Pinhoe Church, an important city landscape feature, lies on the mid-contour of Highard Field, a short distance to the west. The stunning view from the gates of this tranquil field, opening onto far-reaching views of the estuary, is appreciated by many, residents and visitors, every fine day of the year. To lose this amenity would be devastating to the Pinhoe community, which has already lost so much green space to development within the city and East Devon boundaries. This iconic field is visible from many recreation points, including Woodbury Common, Ludwell and Barley Valley Parks, and points along the Green Circle, as well as to residents from their homes in other parts of the city. As an ancient field bordered by long-established hedgerows with nearby mature trees and wildlife-sympathetic gardens, Highard Field offers a valuable habitat for many species, including roe deer, which were photographed in April of this year. This is a green aerial marker from the estuary which attracts migratory birds. Mitigation measures cannot replace the balanced ecosystem this field supports. This application has galvanised a petition to Exeter City Council to provide formal protection of Pinhoe's remaining green infrastructure, which has registered over 2,000 signatures. And the Highard Field webpage, which features its wildlife and scenery, attracts up to 30,000 views per month. The recently adopted Exeter Transport Strategy outlines the ambition for 50% of trips to be made by walking or cycling, but the applicant's transport statement estimates only a 20% active travel split and expects the majority of journeys to be made by car. Residents are concerned that the sheer gradient of the location will deter even 20% from walking or cycling. Residents' concerns regarding the traffic impact of further development in Pinhoe are well documented. Flooding is reality in Lower Pinhoe, and there is genuine concern that the loss of yet another natural water management system will compound the problem. It is difficult to see how 61 new homes would outweigh the adverse effect of the local wider community when, in May 2021, the council was able to demonstrate a housing supply of 4 years and 7 months. Exeter's valley parks are very much appreciated, but not easily accessible to everyone, and many want to walk from their home for a few minutes to enjoy the view over a beautiful green field. Once this green fringe is lost, the impact on the city's visual, ecological and human landscape is irreversible. We would therefore respectfully ask the Planning Committee to refuse permission. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Would you be happy to receive any questions if there are any to be heard from the committee?
I'm not saying I will answer, but thank you.
Does the committee have any questions for Mr. Bennett? Nope, looks like yours.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to open this item for debate. Would anybody like to speak? Councillor Hansford to begin.
Thank you, Chair. I think you had a very comprehensive presentation this evening on some extremely strong reasons why we shouldn't be granting this application this evening. So therefore, after reading this, I think I'd like to move refusal. Thank you.
move on. Does anybody else wish to speak on this matter? Councillor Moore.
Thank you. I'm just interested in the comments by the Highways Authority, which and others that have indicated this is a very sort of car-based development, and then the comment that an air quality assessment is not considered necessary. So it does seem to be quite important that air quality is considered, particularly because of the nature of the that there wasn't sufficient infrastructure proposed to enable walking and cycling very easily. So I just wondered if you could comment on that, please.
You happy to comment, the officer?
Obviously we take advice from environmental health on those matters as to when an air quality assessment is required. This site isn't particularly close to an air quality management area. So on that basis, they concluded that one wasn't required in this case.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak to the debate? In which case, I'm going to take the opportunity, which I don't do very often. I was the county councillor for Pinhove when this application first came forward, and I can remember someone speaking for a considerable amount of time about flood risk, and I do think that is a real concern, even if the report does not necessarily reflect it. But the reason the application, or the reason that the appeal was refused or was allowed, and the reason that our High Court challenge was unsuccessful was because at the time we didn't have the 5-year land supply, and I know that we don't have it at the moment, but as mentioned in the report and by the speaker, we now have a 4-year, 7-month land supply, which is significantly better than the last time we looked at this application based on the High Court decision that we could not include all the things we'd originally been told we could. So based on that, and the fact that I recently took a tour looking at some of the northern areas of the city and specifically stood in the spots we've seen the pictures for, it really does have an impact on that view. It's not just a lucky photo or someone just standing at the right angle. It's very clear where the impact on that ridgeline is. And whilst I don't think, you can never say forever, we have to look at the application as we see it. And at the moment, I don't think this application gives a good enough reason. It's not providing anything that exceptional that you would give up that ridgeline that we're trying so hard to protect. And as such, I would like to vote with the recommendation for refusal. So if no one else would like to speak, I'm going to move to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation for refusal, if you could raise your hand.
And in favour, Chair.
It's unanimous decision. Thank you very much. In which case, we will move on to the second item on the agenda, or the sixth item on the agenda, but the second application on the agenda, which is planning application 20/14464, 102 Main Road over Pinhove. And Roger, I believe you're presenting that one tonight.
Thank you, Chair. Just bear with me a minute while I make sure I'm showing the screen properly.
Yeah.
Is it on? Thank you. So this application relates to construction of a new dwelling with parking, landscaping and associated works at land adjacent to 102 Main Road, Pinhove, Exeter. Members will know this was reported to the last planning committee, and the slideshow is largely the same. So I don't propose to labour over many of the slides, although there are some slightly different ones towards the end. But if when I've finished any members want me to go back to any because I've gone too fast or they want any clarification, please let me know. So that's the site location plan, the red line around the site. An aerial photograph showing the site in relation to Main Road. Photographs of the site or land around the site. Top left picture shows the thatched terrace dwellings, which is immediately to the south of the entrance to the proposed site. Top right picture shows a view looking north from within the site. The bottom two show the access from Main Road, which, as you will know from reading the report, is currently substandard. This slide lists the relevant planning policies which are also included in your report. The site is located within the setting of a Grade 2 listed building, which is the thatched building in the photograph I showed you earlier, and it's accessed off Main Road, which is a classified B road. Proposal is for a new 2-storey 4-bedroom detached dwelling with a private garden with allocated parking, turning head and site access widening works. It's of a contemporary design and uses high quality material finishes. It has an integral garage, cycle parking and bin storage. So this is the proposed site plan, showing the position of the dwelling and the parking and turning. And the ground floor plan, which shows the ground floor has entrance porch, entrance hall, lounge, open plan, kitchen, living and dining area, utility room, WC, covered decking, carport, bicycle store and a bin store. And the first floor has landing, master bedroom with ensuite, 3 further bedrooms and a family bathroom. Elevation looking south, this is the one that faces the listed terrace. Looking north, which faces the dwelling known as St Helena. Looking east, so that's the back, facing the back garden proposal. And looking west, facing the main road. And this is an illustrative image as you were approaching, well actually standing very close to the where you access the listed building, but from looking at the front and side, southern side of the proposal. Here we should have the top plan shows the proposed visibility display. So this is not the existing, this is proposed, so it's widened on the northern side. And the bottom drawing shows street elevation, so you can see the height relationship with St Helena to the north, that's on the left-hand side of the drawing, and the listed terrace on the right-hand side to the south. Since the last presentation, we've received some shadow analysis drawings from the applicant which show how the existing and proposed, specifically related to St Helena, because that would be the property that's affected by overshadowing. So you can see the existing pictures at the top and the impact as a consequence of the development at the bottom. And there are 3 separate sets of these slides which were circulated to you at the end of last week. One in the summer, one in the equinox in September, and one in the winter. And the conclusion of that analysis, because I appreciate that's quite a lot to take in, is that there will be some additional overshadowing in the afternoon, particularly in the equinox, not in the summer, a little bit in the winter. But mostly the low angle of the sun at those times means that there's equally as bad overshadowing from the existing hedge line, which will remain. And so there is no substantial overshadowing sufficient to justify changing the officer recommendation on this case. This is the landscaping plan. Perhaps the most relevant element of it is to the upper left of the drawing as you're looking at it, shows that there'll be a retaining wall. So when cars are parked in there, they will be facing a retaining wall with a lawn area at a higher level, which means that it won't be possible for car lights to shine into the neighbouring property, because they will be shining instead into a retaining wall. These are the representations, rather the consultation response that we've had. County Highway Authority, no objection, and I will elaborate on this one because it's the important one. This is what we looked at on site, with the benefit of the presence of a representative of the County Council. I'm going to read to you the advice we've received subsequent to that meeting, which builds on the original advice from the Highway Authority. The previous visibility drawing was both annotated incorrectly and inaccurate because it indicated visibility displays that were not reflective of what can be achieved. The drawing indicated 45 metres to the right, whereas the revised drawing now shows 12 metres. This is considerably below the recommended 43 metres for a 30 miles per hour road. However, the existing access is severely substandard, offering only a few metres of visibility to the right in particular. It was apparent on site that the access serves 2 properties. The proposal significantly improves visibility to the right and also to the left due to the slight widening of the access and the ability for a driver to position their vehicle differently. I would expect in the order of 6 vehicle movements a day for a single dwelling, 3 in, 3 out. As commented in the narrative on our initial response, and as I reinforced at the committee site meeting, I believe the significant improvement offsets the disbenefit of these additional vehicle movements to visibility at the access. It should be noted that the improvements will not only make it safer for emerging drivers, but for drivers on the B3181 heading southwest towards Exeter, the conspicuity of the access will also be increased. I would not recommend accepting new access to this standard, but the circumstances here are different. We also received consultation responses from Environmental Health, who recommend a condition to control construction working hours, and the Exeter Heritage Officer, who advises that the heritage impact is less than substantial and raises no objection. Also, representations from other interested parties. We've received 11 objections and 1 support for the reasons set out here. These are the same reasons that I've shown in your report. The recommendation is to grant permission subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Excuse me, I really am losing my voice. Thank you, Richard. Are there any questions or clarification? Oh, lots of them. Can I start with Councillor Moore and then Councillor Mitchell?
Thank you. Just got a question about the entrance to the right as you come out. On the picture it shows a lamppost which isn't shown in the drawing. So I wonder, is that taken into account with the visibility? And the drawing shows a brick wall, and currently it's vegetation either going on the wall or in front of the wall. So is that going to be cleared to enable the visibility, because some of the vegetation is at the top of the wall height, which I don't know if that's the height of you be seeing, looking at as a driver.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the first part of that question.
I think you need to pull the speaker a bit closer and speak up a little.
The first question is about the lamppost, which is visible in the picture but not in the drawing. Has that been taken into account with the visibility? And the second question is about vegetation, which, because the drawing shows just a brick wall and not vegetation, so how does that play into the assessment of visibility?
I'm happy for Roger to respond to that, but I think you'll find that the lamppost question is part of the recommendation and conditions. It has to be removed before the house can be built. But Roger will confirm all of that for me.
Yes, that is correct. If this is approved, there would be a condition requiring relocation of the lamppost at the expense of the applicant before the development could go ahead. It would be necessary to make sure that there was clear visibility up to, I think it's 600 millimetres. So, you know, if you're in a car coming out, there shouldn't be anything, including a lamppost, blocking your view. And also the second question, I don't know whether it's shown very clearly, you can see it well enough on the drawing there, but everything should be cleared in the area between the dotted pink line and the solid black line. So that's where the enhancement to the existing visibility arrangement comes in. And the intention is, or the requirement will be, that in order to make sure that there is clear visibility, any vegetation and the existing wall would have to be removed in that area to facilitate the improved visibility. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Got Councillor Hanson, Councillor Mitchell, then Councillor Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Could you just clarify this access issue, which came up the last time we discussed this matter? This is a shared access, jointly shared by the two properties, both of which presumably have more than one, could potentially have several vehicles. My concern is not just the immediate access, entrance and exit onto the highway, is the position of the fitness of the actual drive to sustain two separate households with traffic moving simultaneously.
Well, we do have a representative of the Highway Authority here. Brian, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
The access is going to be widened slightly, as you can see on the drawings, Chair, and it's going to be still substandard. There's no getting away from that. But in my view, it's adequate to service effectively 3 dwellings.
Is it sufficiently wide to take 2 SUVs passing each other?
They won't be able to pass each other. If a vehicle's, one would have to give way while the other either exits or goes into the site.
And do you think that's a satisfactory situation?
It's not ideal, but It's not one I would be confident of defending that appeal, given that there is a significant benefit accruing as part of the proposals.
Thank you. Councillor Henson?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to, I'd like to ask why, for example, on page 78, and that is on replanting of trees. All trees planted should have 5-year, if they die within the 5 years, remove or become seriously damaged or diseased. What I've never seen before is that these should be replanted at a similar size and species. Now, to be perfectly honest, if it's a downgrade oak and come down a little bit, I've never seen this before. Are we being slightly overzealous on this? And the other thing I would like to talk to, if I may, Roger, is where it goes on to, you have 3 classes of extension and alterations, B and roof additions, and class B. But then we come across a class E, swimming pool building. Is that, I would have presumed that it would come back to planning if anybody wanted to put in such a thing, or extra. Why is it in a pre-planning rather than looking at it at another time? Thank you, Roger.
I'm happy for you to ask Roger, but you need to ask through the chair, not directly to him. And I will get him to answer you now.
On the first issue, the planting condition, that is our standard wording of our planting condition. And I confess I don't know how long those words have been in there, but you probably find it's the same one on Mike's recommendation as well. So it's not something I'm aware is newly introduced.
I was looking, now you've got it under the...
Speak on the question, please, Councillor.
Can I just...
Put your speaker on, but ask a question.
I have. When you've got NPPF, which is the national whatever, I tried to find that and couldn't find it anywhere, so I would be very grateful if somebody told me where in the national planning side it is. Because if you're quoting that, that could make a difference in big developments that we got if they suddenly die. It's a point that really is in there. We've got to be careful. That's all I'm saying.
I think we also need to preserve the biodiversity of areas. So if you cut down a large oak tree and replace it with a sapling, it's not really going to represent the biodiversity we've lost. So I imagine that has a lot to do with it. I'm sure Roger can go into it.
We will go away and revisit that issue, and if we think that we're doing something inappropriate, then we'll change it. Thank you. On the second issue, you can build a swimming pool in your garden under permitted development. Not a building, but a hole in the ground. And so that's one of a range of things you can do to your house without planning permission, unless we specifically remove permitted development rights. And we would do that where we think it's appropriate to retain more control than usual over what the occupant can do in the interest of the character of the area or the amenity of neighbours. And in this case, I think it is appropriate to remove that right, so it would have to come back to you or to us if somebody wanted to do that.
Councillor Bianic, you had a question.
Thank you. A question, I need to be helped out of my sort of confusion on this. I'm told that this entrance exit is substandard. It will continue to be substandard. Brian has told us it will have some benefits or improvements. Can somebody help me tell me what these benefits and improvements will be to make it acceptable, although it's substandard?
It's quite simply the removal of an area of bank and hedge row and wall, which again, as shown on the drawing, the new proposal is that curved black solid line, and the way it is at the moment is a dotted line next to it. So it's the removal of all that, which means that there's significantly better visibility for vehicles leaving the site when looking to the right than there is at the moment. So that's the benefit of the proposal.
Follow-up. So what you're saying is there's degrees of substandard, and this isn't quite as substandard as the substandard one before. If that's what you're telling me, I think I understand that.
Well, I think the advice we get from the Highway Authority is this obviously already serves dwellings, this access, and the additional vehicle movements caused by one additional dwelling wouldn't be acceptable if you left the existing access as it is, but the improvements will accommodate that one additional dwelling to the extent that it's acceptable.
I think it's worth remembering that we can't undo the substandardness of the current access to the current accommodations. I think that's what they're trying to say. So an improvement with a new one is an improvement, but it's still substandard. That help? We can stop them having a swimming pool, yeah. Okay, so everybody finished with their questions, so can we have sensible questions as well. Can we move on to Councillor Harvey, who's speaking under Standing Order number 44. You know the drill, Councillor Harvey?
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'll be brief because I spoke on this matter at the last planning meeting. I too am, well, surprised at the Highway Authority's perception that slightly better than substandard is better than it was before. That's what the Highway Authority say. Just to remind you, the numbers are 43 metres visibility is appropriate for a new development. This is currently at none, but we'll go to 12 metres. Hey, there we go. My major concern about this development is exactly what I spoke about at 61 homes on Higher Field. It is not a sustainable development. One has to cross the road twice to get on a bus to the city centre without any form of crossing whatsoever, and those members who attended the site visit last Tuesday at something like 9:30, beyond peak period, experienced some considerable difficulty crossing this road. To have to cross it twice to get on the bus to go to the city centre, I find strange. And if you were to wish to bicycle or walk to the city or anywhere else, you'd have to cross it once. I don't believe it's a sustainable development. I believe, as I said earlier, we have to look long and hard and decide what we mean we want to do about sustainable development and about carbon zero for 2030. I believe, if you can see here, I believe that the grey building overshadows the cream building to its left as I'm looking at it. I've seen the shadow diagrams produced by the scientists who supposedly know about these things. So it seems that my argument is weak on that point, but I believe it is too close, overbearing, and will overshadow the house on its left. It is a lovely, tranquil spot, and I would feel the loss of it dramatically. But I understand that that's not a planning consideration. I would urge you to think long and hard and to vote against this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. And I have Mr. Lawrence speaking again as an objector. If you'd like to make your way across again, you've got 3 minutes. And your time will start when you begin speaking. We'll let you know when you're done.
Okay, good evening everyone. My first main concern really with the new project is obviously danger to myself and my family regarding the entrance. This is not just a driveway, this is the entrance to our home. So me and my son cross this entrance every morning. I take my son to school because the road's so dangerous. I can't justify myself for him to cross it alone. So there is severe danger to my family, even with the new adjustments to the entrance. Another point is a vehicle travelling at 30 miles per hour coming down from the north takes 23 metres to stop. So the viewpoint is 11 metres on the new drawing. This seems to me still very dangerous. There are 3 cars already using the entrance. So myself, our next door neighbour and the neighbour to that, we all have 3 allocated parking spots. So Additionally, with the extra minimum of 3 vehicles, there could be possibly 4 in this new building, increases the danger even more to us. Cars coming down from the south who want to turn into the entrance cannot see vehicles coming out. It's literally a blind spot. Also, if we're crossing the road and a car wants to turn in, what do we do? What do we do? Who gives way to who? The vehicles coming down have only got 11 metres visibility, travelling at 30 miles per hour. It's going to take 23 metres to stop. They're going to run us over. There's no walkway for the driveway. There's no walkway for residents. So, just one other thing. 11 metres visibility to the north. On the original drawing, it was 35. So how can this be an improvement? It's been cut down to 11. Okay. Thank you for giving me the time to speak.
Mr. Lawrence, if you're happy, we can ask you questions again. But last time you got very animated, spoke far too much, and wandered into the room.
Okay.
We could not do that last time. That would be great.
So sorry.
Okay. That's if anybody has any questions.
Yeah.
Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. Could you just clarify this thing on vehicle ownership and use of the drive? Because one of my main concerns about a narrow access and vehicles moving in 2 directions. Could you give some indication? You're talking about other properties beyond yourself and Victor?
Yeah.
Those one having use of the current driveway?
Yes. So it's very confusing that the lady who's selling the land to the builder didn't want to sell the driveway, but he pressurised her. He said, "Oh no, you must sell that to us." She's an elderly lady. It's not good. But yeah, there's 3 other residents that we've got 3 parking spots. When I'm reversing out of my parking spots, I can't see people coming in. It causes a hazard. There's an accident waiting there.
And those spots remain under this development. Those people will still have access to
Yes.
this, on top of any cars
Yes.
associated with the new development.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any further questions? Which case? Oh no, Councillor Henson's got a hand up.
Can I ask you, Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
You put great emphasis about coming out of your drive and that you've got to cross the road. But is it not right that all the properties on the right-hand side going down would have to cross the road exactly like you do to get to the other side? And you say there's no paving. The only alternative would be to take your residents, your friends, all the way down through. Would be to take a piece of their front garden to put in a front path. Would you think they would agree to that?
No, that's not the case, because they have a purpose-made lay-by and a pavement. So
That's on the other side, not on your side.
yeah, it's on our side. Yeah. So they have extra safety. We don't. There's been cut back, and there's a lay-by where they can park and a pavement, so they can see clear to the right.
And that's opposite where the church houses are, the new build on the left-hand side. The houses that in front of the
It's directly right to us. So Helena, Pinncrest, they all have clear visibility to cross the road. We don't, because the road protrudes out, the garden protrudes out.
I see.
Yeah, it's like a right angle basically.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Thanks very much.
You see, could you just switch off the microphone for me, otherwise they won't switch on in a minute. In which case, I'd like to open this to debate. Who'd like to speak first? Councillor Williams.
I'd like to ask Roger if he could just clarify the situation with the 3 parking spaces that Mr. Lawrence mentioned, because I was one of the councillors that participated in the site visit, and I remember seeing 2 cars, but it would be quite nice to see where those 3 spaces are in relation to the current application. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my understanding that the 3 allocated spaces that exist are, there's one which is shown by, on the drawing that's on the screen in front of me, shown by a dotted car, which is just outside the application site at the bottom of your drawing. And the other 2 are in that area where underneath where number 2 is. Does that make sense?
Yes. Would anybody like to open the debate this time? Councillor Byalek.
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty. I can't get over the displays outside about the 43 metres down to 12 or 11. I really can't get past that. I can't get past the issue of, we know it's substandard, but we'll carry on and just compound that substandardness. I feel sure the property will be very nice. It's a very nice, looks very nice, and many of us would like to live in something like that. But I can't get over the road and the highway. And there's a clue about that road. It's called Pinhole Main Road. We're not talking about a lane somewhere or down a main road. And it is a busy road. But look, I'm minded at the moment. I want to listen to what others have got to say. And if there's anybody, members, or even an officer at the end, could try to help me on that, I really need to get over that little bit. Thank you.
Councillor Byalek, you've been on the planning committee long enough to know that if there isn't an objection from the Highways Authority, whether we think it's right or wrong, we will have to defend it independently. And you've heard the head of Highways, who came on the site visit and is here today, say that the access, while substandard, is standard enough. So I don't know that anyone can give you any better reassurance than that. I have to say it's not ideal, but it's not going to get any worse as a result of this development, and that's where the issue is. If this was a brand new access, we were building a house and that came along, I'm quite sure that that would be a refusal from Highways, because they would not let that go. But it already exists, so it's making the best of something that Mr. Lawrence already drives out of every day. Yep, okay. Does anybody else have anything to say? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. As somebody who did go on the site visit, and I fully appreciate what Mr. Lawrence was saying and describing about the dangers that he and his son already face, just walking down their driveway and trying to cross the road. I have to say that having improvements to this driveway display can only improve safety for Mr. Lawrence and his son. Currently, the lamppost is in the way, and there is vegetation growing between the wall and the lamppost, so it's even worse than it really should be. It's really, really bad. And so removing that lamppost, shifting the wall, is going to make a significant difference, and it will improve the safety for Mr. Lawrence and his son. And I take the point that he's made about there'll be additional movements, car movements, vehicle movements, but the driveway isn't that long, and if you went on the visit, you would have seen that anybody turning in, if you're at the top and wanting to drive out, you will see that vehicle coming in. So I think that perhaps, you know, having a visit does actually illustrate exactly what the situation that will arrive. And I think that the gains from changing this driveway display has to outweigh the current situation, because it isn't safe. And so I am going to be supporting this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Hanson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wasn't on the official visit on this, but I do know it, and I took the opportunity to go out and have a look at it again. I think, though we don't like what some of us, or some of you don't like what you see, and there is a difficulty in the splay coming out and in, the ones that I'm trying, and Mr. Lawrence did say that there is a park, and yes, there is a park, and I do apologise for that, it is. But equally, the houses further down haven't got a path. They have got to go in and out like you do. But I think the biggest danger on that at all is Park Lane itself. You come and try and get out on from Park Lane. I'm an experienced driver, and I do say that I might be sort of been driving for many moons, or many centuries in some cases. And I know my area very well, that area. But also there is a small lane opposite Park Lane that goes down further to a little cul-de-sac there. And that's a hell of a job to come out of that one. And to be perfectly honest, I think, you know, we've got to be careful on this. I've been on this planning on many moments, and for common sense and the site it's on, I think we would lose it if it went to appeal. And I really think that I am going to agree with the officers on this, simply on the fact that if it went to appeal, we would lose it, and we should look, have some common sense about this. Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. Clearly, any decision made by us is affected by the consultations that take place. Clearly, the Highway Authority are a major voice in this. And apparently at the moment, even though it's a substandard access, but it is improved on what is there at the moment, they believe that is satisfactory for this development to go through. What has arisen through the debate that possibly some of us weren't aware of is that there are at least 3 other properties sharing parking there. The adjacent property is already parking there. This new property in itself would generate additional traffic. That's beyond any visitors visiting or parking there as well. And could I just ask, if it's possible through you, to the Highways Authority, what basis of numbers did they use for the methodology to say this is satisfactory? Did they take account of the 3 additional car parking spaces and additional visitor traffic and the new property as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As I've commented on the actual application itself, we work on the basis of about 6 vehicle movements a day per dwelling. 3 vehicles in, 3 vehicles out. That takes into account visitors, deliveries, and movements by occupiers. For the existing parking, I understood that there were 2 dwellings using the access. It turns out there are 3 parking spaces. But again, I'd worked on the basis of perhaps, again, 6 per day for each of the 2 dwellings that I was aware of, so I'd worked on the basis of 12, 6 in, 6 out per day. So the existence of an additional parking space doesn't change my thinking. My view is still that the slight disbenefit of 3 additional exiting movements is worth the benefit of the significant improvement of visibility, albeit substandard, but it is a significant improvement over what's there at the present time.
Yeah. You finished that. Okay, right. No one else wants to speak. I'd like to see if anyone would like to move the recommendation and second it. Councillor Williams will move it. Councillor Lyons will right in front of me, so I'll let you second it then. In which case, can we move to the vote? All those in favour, please raise your hand.
6 in favour.
All those against?
4 against recommendations.
And the abstention? One abstention, thank you. Right, in which case, That means the recommendation has been carried, and we now move on to item number 7, which is list of decisions made and withdrawn. Is that with you, Richard? Or Roger?
I don't know if this is these are items to note, because I potentially have a conflict of interest, because I'll have objected to one of these applications on this list before I became councillor.
Roger? I think there's too many lines. Try that.
Thanks. So again, I couldn't really hear what Councillor Moore was saying, but I presume it was about the next item on the agenda, and just the list of decisions or applications received. Okay, no, the recommendation is just to note that, and I think it usually says if you have members have anything that they want to query with officers, then let us know in advance or come and see us afterwards. I haven't been notified in advance of anything, but if you do want to talk to me about it afterwards, that's fine.
Moving on to item 7, list of decisions, number 8, isn't it? Number 8, the appeals report. Could you present that one, Roger?
Thank you, Chair. You'll see on the report that there are only 2 appeals reported, and both of them were dismissed, which is good news for us. I haven't been notified of any questions about them, but if anybody wants to talk to me, please do. And I think it also says that we've received no new appeals, so that's good as well. That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And final item on the agenda is the site inspection party, which will take place on Tuesday, the 13th of July at 9:30. Members on the previously listed circulated list are Councillor Denning, Councillor Hannaford and Councillor Henson. At the moment, we've been asking people to meet at the site, so Councillor Hannaford, you might need to have a chat with somebody that's too far away from us. In which case, the next meeting will be on the 26th of July at 5:30. Thank you for your time.